Hi everyone, my name is Yurai and I would like to talk to you today about 5 things that every sysadmin should know about PowerShell. PowerShell is an amazing tool that can help you manage and administer your environment more effectively and efficiently, because you can reuse tools for maybe future clients or various different clients if you have multiple clients. All you need to do is just change maybe credentials or a few things here and there, and you are rocking. You don't have to do it the ineffective way of GUI, which sometimes is effective, but most of the time it is not. So let's dive in. So number 1, just PowerShell Basics and PowerShell Syntax Basics. But I wanted to mention that PowerShell is available in Linux, macOS, and all versions of Windows family operating systems, including, and most importantly, server versions. The way you open it, usually just type in PowerShell and always run it as administrator. If you are administrator, if you can, just run it as user, or run ICE, which will give you this beautiful environment. And I'm going to talk about its advantages very soon. So PowerShell command usually, or pretty much every command, consists of 2 things, which is a verb plus noun. So as you can see, here are some examples. Get item is always any get items is read-only item. It'll pull the information. Remove item is self-evident, I believe, removes an item. And set item usually changes an item or changes a configuration within that item. How do you find your PowerShell version? PowerShell has been developing for a few years now, starting with version 2 in Windows XP and Server 2008, if I'm not mistaken. It's based on .NET, and you can find your version, but by running command get host. So if I run F8, it will tell me that my version of PowerShell is 5.1. Current version is version 6, but I believe it's still in beta, so I would stick to 5.1. PowerShell has amazing feature, not only the ISE environment, but also normal command or the PowerShell window. Tap to complete. So if I press now, it will scroll through all the commands starting with get-i. And I want to get item. I can also continue and just press put a dash, which is a parameter within the command, and choose whatever I like. This does not work in the PowerShell window. Let me just demonstrate. It doesn't give you the drop-down menu, but you can still see all the commands if you scroll through them via tabbing. Okay, if I run get item and C, it'll show me the content of my C drive. I don't have much in there. I can also run get local users. These are just a few examples what you can do. So I've got administrator, myself, guest, which is disabled, and so on and so forth. If you'd like to get the latest version of PowerShell, version 5.1 or even 6, just Google or use DuckDuckGo, search for Windows Management Framework or WMI, and just append the version that you're looking for. You can also use Linux commands. The most common are working, but not all of them will. So be cautious and make sure that your command is executing as expected. With PowerShell, you can also connect remotely to another PC. So this is a domain joined computer, and my domain controller is called DC01. And if I use command enter PS session and just DC01, which is an expected parameter of the remote computer, it'll connect me to that server. So currently my session is PS and I'm logged in as administrator. If I execute this command, I'm connected to DC01 and I can run the following commands from within the server. Also important are variables. Variables are defined by $, and I can put results of my commands and then use them later. I'll show you later some more examples. This is just the way you can just think about it for now. So this is me assigning get item of all the windows from within the server and displaying all those items. Cool. So optional, if you'd like to do some more, run those commands and find out what is the difference between them and why there's the difference. Okay, number 2, help and how to find it. PowerShell has amazing description of all of its commands, and because the commands are being updated or the documentation is being updated constantly, you can run update-help, which will upgrade or update all of the commands. So this is currently running on my domain controller, and with magic of editing, it's all done. To use help, just type in command help and then command of which you'd like help of. So if I press get item help, let me expand this a little. I can find brief detail of the command get item. If I want more, I can append detail. This will give me a full help with more examples. I can also go on to DuckDuckGo or Google and look for Microsoft Docs, which has beautiful library of all the commands. You can also choose what PowerShell version you are running, and this will give you exact description of the version that you are running, because as I mentioned, commands and more parameters are always added, so you'll be able to get more benefits out of that. One of the best commands that I believe are there is get command or shortcut or alias called GCM. So let's say I don't know a certain command, but I assume that it will contain a word restart for restart service, but I don't know what exact the structure it is, and maybe from other modules I can find other commands. So I'm going to run GCM restart or get command restart, and I can restart net adapter, print job, computer, remote computer even, and obviously a service. Restart net adapter is part of a net adapter module. So if I want everything, all the commands that are contained within net adapter module, I can just run get command dash module and name of the module, and this will give me all the commands within that module. Okay, if I want to know all of the aliases, like here or Linux or command prompt, I can just run get alias, and this will give me all the aliases. So if I want GPS, which I use quite often, it will be get process. So I don't have to type get process, I can just type GPS, or I can type SPPS, which is stop process. So those are very handy to know. But also if you like Linux, or if you've been using Linux, you can use, let's say, ls. And ls is get child item. Again, this might come handy. Man for manual, if you're from Linux world. MD for make directory. Mount, new PS drive. And also you can use IntelliSense. So IntelliSense within ISE, if you press this button, show command add-on, it'll pop up this window, and you can choose all your commands, and you can find out, let's say, get item, and you can literally write what you want, and it will build that command for you. I don't usually use it like this. I always try to go through either help or the website to understand better, because it will also give me examples, and most of the time the example is pretty much what I'm trying to do. So I would recommend first to try build it yourself, but IntelliSense might come handy. IntelliSense is also the autocomplete. So let's say I want to add a computer into a domain. So I know the command is add computer, and I know I have to add my credentials and domain name. So I just press dash domain name. So let's say domain name is conchoso.local, and I know I have to use credentials. So I'll use local credentials. It would be domain credential, but because I'm still logged in onto the server, it does not give me that option. And I just type in administrator, and I run that command from a local machine. So that's how you can use IntelliSense. Okay, optional assignment, if you like. Update help, run the command update help on your PC or server and read documentation on a single command like get item. Test your knowledge and use it in 3 examples. Number 3, piping commands. Okay, so let's say you want to find out all the users and their last logon time. How do you do it? Well, I guess you could use third-party tool or go one user by one user and just look it up manually in the attribute editor, which is fine for 5 users, but more than that, I think you would go nuts. So let's try build something quickly in PowerShell. Let's connect onto my domain controller, and then let's assume that I don't know what command I'm looking for. So what do I do? Well, I can start with get command and user because I know most likely that's what's going to be in the command. And I get AD user, which makes sense. Get Active Directory user as opposed to get local user, which we had previously on my local machine. Okay, let's see how this command works. So let's see get AD user detailed. And even though I've ran the update help, it doesn't have as much detail as I was hoping for. So let's go online. And I already have this opened. So this is get AD user, description, and some examples. That's what I'm usually searching for. So filter is a mandatory, and usually you can just put in asterisk, it'll get all the users, or you can just go through search base and get the OU that you are after. So let's start with that. So get AD user, all of my users, and this will give me some details about my users, as in SAM account name, security ID, principal name, and whether the account is enabled or disabled. Kerberos ticket granting ticket, as you probably aware, is an essential user, but more about that in a different session. However, this does not give me information about last logon time. So let's find out all the properties about each of those users. So if I add dash properties and another asterisk, this will give me all of the properties in alphabetical order. So this is for the last Kerberos ticket granting ticket user, and last logon time, last logon date. It's not filled because this user never logged on because it's disabled, and you can't enable it. But that's fine. We just need it for those other users. So let's limit our results to only SAM account name and last logon date. So this gives me the default plus those 2. Okay, now let's export it. So I know that I want to export it, and I assume the word is export. And I can export into CSV. There's also another command called out. Starts with out, so GCM. And I can export into file, grid view, host, or just chuck it null, print printer or as a string. So we've got the command, and let's export it. Let's pipe it into my export CSV, and I'll place it on a C drive and users.csv. And I'll run this, and let's see if there is anything there. And the file is there. If I want to read it, I know in Linux this command is called cat. So alias, and the actual command is get content. So let's go get content c users.csv, and this gives me information about that file. If I had Excel, I could open in Excel and play with it a bit further. Awesome. So as an optional task, find all users whose password has expired in your domain and add them into a single variable. Cool. Number 4, exporting results. We had a bit of that just now, but let's go a bit further. So as mentioned previously, you can get command for export and get command out. We have briefly mentioned this in a previous lesson. So if I want to get item and out file, I can pipe them and just export the text file and then read it. If I want to keep appending all the processes out file, I can just keep appending. Let's say I want to run this every 5 minutes and get all the processes that run at that time as a scheduled task, and at the end of the day I have a log of processes that run every 5 minutes. If I'm looking for something or some anomaly, probably not the best way to do it, but there might be a case someone needing that, and I can read content of that file. As you can see, it's appending, so there's 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. Exporting results comes very handy, mainly when you want to process those information later. So it's definitely worthwhile spending your time understanding how this works and how you can pipe the results. You can do it in various steps. You don't have to do get process, pipe and out file, because it can get a bit convoluted with multiple lines. But what you can do, you can add it into results as a variable, and then use another command and pipe it into that file. So you can use multiple ways, but as you get better and better and your understanding of PowerShell gets better, then you can use piping more and more. Cool. And finally, number 5, I think is one of the coolest commands, is for each. So let's say you need to do some ACL group recertification, either for yourself or for a client or for a manager. And you need to find out all the members of all the groups that have access to certain folders or applications on the service. So how do you do that? Well, you can go again one by one and get the users, but it can get complicated very quickly. So what you do, or what I would do, is create a variable called groups and insert into it a result of get AD group, so Active Directory group, and filter pretty much for everything. So I'm using the default command, LDAP filter, quote marks name. I can use different filters as well. Okay, so let's run this command and let's see what do I get. So there's a bunch of default groups: administrator, enterprise administrator, and so forth. But now I want members of these groups. So how do I get those? So I can run get command for member, and I'm pretty sure it's AD as well. So get AD group member. So that's my command that I'm looking for. So get AD group member and identity, let's say administrators. So I run this command and it'll give me all the administrators within the administrators group in a domain. But now what if I want all the members of all of the groups? So here where for each comes very handy. So for each by default is essentially for each, and then you've got brackets and curly brackets where your command actually lies. So the way it works is if you tried PowerShell Basic or any other languages, you know there's a for each loop. So you've got item in items that you have defined previously, and each of the item now there is some process with it. So in our case, the process is to get the AD group member with identity of the group within groups. So within groups, I've got all those groups one by one, and as the loop goes, it'll show me each of the member of the group's variable, and it'll show me their members of the group. So if I run this, as you can see, it will show me all the members of those groups. It's not the most ideal output right now, but we can improve it, right? Let's say I want to distinguish between groups. I want to create clear separation. So I know in a command prompt, the command is echo. So let's see what an alias for echo is. It's actually write output. Awesome. I could use echo as well, obviously. And I add new at the beginning of each run. Then I write the name of the group, and then I just write the members of that group, and then I close it with end. So if I run this, as you can see, some of the groups have no members and some of them do. This one is quite a few. So this is denied read-only domain controller password replication, has all these users in it. Enterprise admin group, domain controllers, and so on and so forth. I would suggest you to practice and improve this script and add all groups into a single file. So you can keep appending into a variable, into another variable, and just append maybe at the end here the output of this or somewhere here, and then export the variable into a file. If you think you got this, then I would suggest to try something advanced and quite challenging, and get owner of each of the groups alongside its members. So you're gonna have who is responsible for that particular group and its members, so you can then talk to that person and get the recertification done. Cool. Hopefully you found this helpful. Let me know if you have any questions or any issues. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.